But you don't do the same thing to any other race. It's different when it's a black woman. Like y'all were speaking the other day. I watch y'all shit. So it's not like I'm just speaking from fucking nothing. I'm speaking from knowledge. So I'm watching y'all, you feel me? And y'all telling a Hispanic woman, oh yeah, or a white girl, people don't say white girl or black girl. That shit is a lie. I work in Hispanic and white clubs. Do any of y'all look like me? And I doubt it. Y'all don't, because I'm looking at y'all.
But did we treat you fairly?
But continue.
Hold on, question for you. Did we treat you poorly? Exactly. Why is that?
Yeah, y'all did treat me poorly. Last time I was here, old girl that was here, when I called her out on her bullshit about her being a fucking prostitute, y'all try to play me like I was motherfucking saying some dumb shit. And no, this bitch sell pussy. No. I was just saying the bitch sell pussy. But
Hi guys, I actually do hate this topic, but I think it's time to cover it. Colorism. I speak from it from a very, I don't think it's a unique, but I want to tell you my point of view. I'm a dark-skinned, middle-aged man, and I have two sisters who are dark-skinned. I did end up getting married to a mixed light-skinned woman. Yep. And, you know, over these years, I have started to ask myself questions about colorism, because a lot of times you make these decisions and it may be swayed by different reasons, but you're seeing a pattern. And, you know, I think the decent thing to do is to understand why. Now, I can tell you in Jamaica, there is a lot of colorism, because in Jamaica right now, there's a lot of people bleaching their skin, especially from the people in the lower echelons, the lower class. But let's look at something that just happened a few days ago that is important. And this goes back to the Fresh and Fit podcast, but not what people think, not those clips that people had. They just had to ask a young lady to leave the studio, and it's very interesting what happened there, because I want to show you a few pictures, because you know, I want to use this in fair use. I'm not going to use a video because but what I did see was you had these young ladies, you know, European, you know, one European young lady, I think it's Albania she's from, another lady, she looks kind of Eurasian, and both were in the focal point of the conversation. And, you know, when I go back to the Asian doll incident, what a lot of people haven't said was that Asian doll was brought onto a panel. She wasn't given the marquee. She was not given that one-to-one interview or two, you know, Fresh and Fit with her. She was brought in, you know, basically with a lot of other women. That's what I think caused Asian doll to act up, because she, you know, let's be honest, she is, I don't know, I can't say she's a mid-tier rapper. I've never heard anything that she sung, but I guess she was expecting that she would have given a marquee or something like that, but she wasn't. And so I suspect that's why she acted up. Now, this happened to this young lady on a larger scale, because what was happening was I could see the conversation had the focal point on these two ladies, the two ladies. One is, you know, clearly European. The other one looks kind of Eurasian. And as I saw, as this, you know, this podcast went on, you could see the young lady who was the only dark-skinned black woman get, you know, you could see her get a little antsy and a little anxious as she saw others getting in the conversation while she was not given much to say, and, you know, or it did not pass along to her. And one of the things that I can tell you is, I am not accusing Fresh and Fit of colorism, but what I'll say is this: sometimes we think of this hard, tangible. Someone says, you know, I am colorist, I don't like dark-skinned women or that. But you could see in it that there was a gravitational pull to these ladies. And I mean, the Albanian lady, she said a lot of things that the audience liked, because she spoke about being submissive, wanting to be submissive to her husband. She said, oh, my husband will be the president, I am the vice president. And she kind of said the right things. And she did look the part that a lot of the Fresh and Fit audience liked, especially from the chat. You could see it in a lot of the chats. The chats were saying how positive they thought of her. And so as time went on, this young dark-skinned lady, her name is, well, let's not use her name, but she got very agitated after a while. Then one of the young ladies brought up the colorism argument and, you know, said, you know, she wanted Myron Myron and Walter to address it. And this was when she got upset. And she got really upset because the Albanian lady started speaking on the issue, and she felt she was, as a non-black person, she should not speak on the issue. So she got very upset. And the funny thing is, it happened. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. She started to behave the part that was set for her. And, it's sad, and I can tell you, I look at these things and I see these things happen over and over. A lot of this has nothing to do with color. It has a lot to do with upbringing and situations. Because when you think about it, when we go back to, I spoke of the caveman alpha. The caveman alpha is like a baby. They just want what they want without thinking of anyone else's feelings. And they sometimes get so focused on their feelings, they forget about everyone else around them. And the thing is that sometimes when someone is backed into a corner, they start to behave that way. It's a fight or flight. And she felt right there. Now she was ignored. There's a non-black woman speaking about colorism, and so that triggered her. So she went on what I think was a tirade, which was a fulfilling prophecy. Here was the darkest woman on the podcast being kicked off, and this is something that I think that a lot of dark-skinned women should think on. As a dark-skinned man, I can tell you this. A lot of dark-skinned men, they actually try to be a bit more polished so that you don't fall into this trap of being of someone thinking of you as a street dude. So a lot of dark-skinned guys will be more polished and dressed up and all of that stuff not to do it. And I do see some dark-skinned women do that. But one thing is that people are always trying to trigger people, especially on these podcasts and that. And the trick is not to be triggered. And one of the things I saw there was that there's one lady who was establishing herself as the focal point of the conversation. The other women understood that, and they played their role as being, filling in when they felt they could. But they had the attention of Myron and of Walter. And this is a key thing. In not getting that attention, those other ladies figured out that they had to play. They read the room, understood their, temporary role there while they were there, and they filled it out. But this young lady felt upset because, I could see it. She was not getting a chance to talk. And she went from being upset, talking about black women are godly, and then moving into the victim mode and crying. And it was terrible to see. And I felt sad for her because what I saw was someone who did not know how to negotiate a situation like that. And I was hoping that she would have figured out that forum was not for her. It was not for her. She was not going to get a lot of play. The audience we're saying that she looked like Bobby Shmurda. No, I'll let you look at Bobby Shmurda. And they started calling her Bobby. And this was, you could see right away that, the audience was kind of telling her, you are unattractive to us. And then she went into something which no woman should ever do. She started to talk about an incident of an attractive man, earlier in the day, proposition her and all that. Then they started saying cap, meaning, that never happened. Then she started to talk about how she was great. Well, I would not say it in the disgusting way she said it, but giving the impression that she would be a great lover to a man and that. And I said to myself, she fell into that trap. And that trap was trying to compete with women when the women that room favored a certain type of woman. And it's a natural thing. It's natural. I mean, I've been in the rooms with beautiful women, and guess what? Sometimes the men, their attention, their focus is only on that woman. And the other women, it's either they leave or they go and enjoy themselves, talking to each other. But that's the focal point. But to act out is actually, you are actually making it worse because now you look so unattractive. Now, let me tell you something. A lot of people I am empathetic to these. I share the same dark skin, and I have two sisters who share the dark skin, and I can tell you both sisters are married very well. and one of the things I can tell you is that I came from a household that had a mother and father, a nuclear household. As a matter of fact, my grandparents were married. So therefore we had like a truly, 2-layered nuclear family. And my 2 sisters, they turned out well. They're both professionals. They married 2 husbands who are professionals. And they've been married 14 years, and the other sister is married 26 years. I mean, in a month's time, it'll be 27 years. And they have successful marriages and all that. And that's why I can say it's not color, because a lot of things has to do with how you are cultured. And a lot of women I can see are not cultured, especially who grew up in the hood, are not cultured properly. And that not being cultured properly means that they sometimes go into venues that are very hostile to them, and not hostile in a physical way, but hostile to them in or probably just apathy, apathetic. I don't know, like these areas, they're ignored, and that's when they move on. And so in watching this, it taught me something, and it was clear to me that sometimes you go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. And there is a lot to think on that, because as women, there are places that you will be celebrated, and you have to figure out where your niche is. And sometimes you have to, be polished. You have to do a lot of things. You have to be more reserved. And what happened here was she fell into the trap. And that trap was, there was a prophecy that she would be, as a dark-skinned woman, be the loudest, most ratchet person. And by the end of the podcast, she was. And that was because she reacted to being ignored in the most negative way. And if I go over her reaction, it was first being loud, second being overly sexual about talking about her sexual prowess, then third talking about being godly, and this is like this false impression of greatness. Third, victimhood. Then last one was just lashing out, anger. And when you go through that process, I've seen it happen over and over. And where it should start with is, why am I going to somewhere where I am not celebrated? Thanks, guys.